All right, you legends. We're at it again. That's my brother's Souke kit there. This is mine. He's got the chartreuse. I've got the orange and navy. I did a video, but I didn't really pair them like this. But I think, let's go to the left, my brother. There's always something going on in the woodlands. There's some event today. It's probably a run or something.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rolled into the woodlands. We picked up the Veloharmony group from Alden Bridge Center and went out on Research Forest, 1488. That's all on film. The pace was very fast. This ended up being one of the fastest rides we've done. And we took Jackson all the way out to 1486 in Dobbins. We went through Mount Mariah, all of that's on camera, and then 1486 past Dacus. We stopped the filming there. Went through the forest, came down 149 and stayed on 149 back into Montgomery. We stopped at Taco. Then we took Spring Branch Road, that's off camera, through the Great Lake Estates into Canaan on Honia, Egypt, back into the woodlands. It was a nice day. A front came through the night before, so they cut the humidity down. Nice and crispy in the morning. Very, very pleasant. I think you would love the clips we put together for you. We're on Research Forest Boulevard, leaving the Woodlands, Texas, heading out towards Dacus and parts unknown. We had a good turnout this morning. I'm sitting at the front, Abby and I catching up. We're wearing our Souke kit today. Souke.cc. I will put the links in the description. They're making some really good products. I have the cargo shorts on, very comfortable shorts. What I did is in the middle of the week, I took it out on one of my longer rides before bringing it out today. And it just passed the test with flying colors. So I blended the navy socks with the match, the navy of the shorts and the navy in the jersey. I'm also testing a new light. I will put the link in the description from a company called Magic Shine. And links will be there. I got them to give us discounts as well. That light, supposedly, when you hit the brakes, they get even brighter when they sense you're slowing down. It has a lot of smart features. Contrary to what they have in the documentation, I have not been able to replicate the battery life in the different settings. I've been able to get 9 or 10 hours out of them, which is plenty, but some of them are advertised like 35 hours and so forth and so on. So I'm testing each setting before I do the review to see how close it comes to the documented lifespan. But it's very solid, it's a good quality product, it's easy to use. I will be working with them over a period of time to introduce a lot more of their products and make different lights in different form factors. So if you're into real tiny lights, they got that as well. You know, the size of the lumens, like if you have a 1500 lumens, you can't put it in a small form factor. So it has to be a little longer, but they're not overly heavy or anything. I really like that taillight, it's very unique. So I just started a working relationship with them, and I'm trying to introduce this product. They've got some other things like a video like a rear taillight with a video camera in there, and their price points are so much more reasonable than the one that the Garmin Varia and so forth. So that's why I'm interested in it. See, as I brake, the light got brighter. I don't know if you noticed that. It's kind of hard to show here, but and there's those features, I believe, that affects the battery life. So it has a smart setting to where when the power's low, it gets out of the smart stop, what they call auto stop load mode, and it basically goes into limp mode, so you get an extra 30 minutes of low-powered lighting to get you home. But I've been able to get 9 hours consistently out of the group ride mode, which is what I'm using here today. And then I'm going to continue to test all the other modes to see how long they last. The documentation is not very thorough, of course, so that's why I'm doing some extensive testing. It's a beautiful, sunny, fair day. We're going to take the left lane here. The right lane's for the water. It rained overnight. It stopped about 2 a.m. this morning. And that front that brought the rain cut the humidity. So it's a very pleasant morning. So it says 21C. It might feel like 18. It's nice and comfortable. This is 2978 and Research Forest. We're going to go straight through the neighborhood up here to get out to Tamina and 1488. It'll take us westbound over Mount Magnolia because we're going into Dacus.
Rain up.
So you have to practice your clipping in, because when you're with a group like this, you don't want to take too long to clip in. You can get gapped. Then you got to work so hard to catch back up. So that's something when you ride by yourself, you should be able to clip in without always looking at the cleats. You know, you don't have to look at your shoe as you get into the pedal. You should be able to, because most of the pedals will maintain their position. You should just be able to flip it and step into them. You shouldn't have to use a lot of force either. If you're using a lot of force to clip in, then you need to adjust the tension on your pedal, the cleat tension. That's Laura and what's her name? Jennifer. Jennifer and her husband John came out today. You'll see John later. This is Alejandro on the right there. And Abby and I are catching up. This is the warm-up. We're kind of rolling, getting out of town. And once we get on 1488, all hell's going to break loose. The speeds are going to pick up. It's ended up being a very fast group ride. Let everybody know it's clear. See, everyone and their uncle on YouTube just sticks a camera on their bike and they have one view for their entire clip. I mean, how boring is that? You've seen how we're able to film the back, or if we see something on the side of the road, we can turn the camera. We try to show you what we see out here. I've gotten a few people come on the channel want to suggest that, oh, you know, you said you were going to put it on there. Yeah, I said from time to time we'll periodically mount the camera, but, you know, we know what we're doing. You know, we don't take requests. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said that in Running Man. We don't take requests. We know what we're doing. You know, I went to film school for 6 weeks before I started this channel. So, you know, filming one shot, they don't do that in the movies either. That would be boring. You wouldn't sit in a 2.5-hour movie that had one camera angle. I'm not sure why anybody comes to YouTube to suggest that, oh yeah, because that's what everybody else does, because that's the easy way to do it. You stick it on the bike and forget about it. So you're not really actively involved. Yeah, it's harder because you have to use your mind and your energy to film. But we've gotten accustomed to it. So yeah, we work a little harder, but we're just used to it. You know, even Jerry told Paul, you're handicapping yourself. If you put that camera up, you probably go 1 mile an hour faster. We don't necessarily believe that, but, you know, we knew what he meant. You know, but it's like, why do what everyone else is doing? Because that's the easy way. Yeah, easy does not necessarily mean it's the best way. We want to be able to film a dog that comes out from the side of the road. You know, anything that occurs, film the cows like we always do. That's what keeps us interesting. Otherwise, it's boring. We want to get you involved in experiencing what we experienced on the ride, not limiting your view and your visibility. So we appreciate the suggestions, but thanks, but no thanks. So we're at 1488 West. I think in a little bit I'm going to go and push the button because there are no vehicles behind us. And this light will not change just for bicycles. The sensors in the pavement are not that sensitive. I'm going to use the pedestrian signal. So I look behind to see if there are cars coming. And since there's no one behind us, there are no vehicles there. With this cycle, if we don't push that button, it won't change. So I'll move over to push the button, and then I'm going to go to the back. And you kind of have to do that when you ride throughout town, you know, in the city. Sometimes there are no vehicles behind you. You got to use the pedestrian signal. In our area, if you push the pedestrian signal, you get like 30 minutes guaranteed to go through the intersection. So a lot of times on the very short lights that we have, when we push that button, the cycle is longer. So I'm at the back talking with Doug and Jerry. And this is what Jerry asked me what kind of tires I had. And I told him I have Souks. Because he said, oh, that's why I didn't recognize them. I think he used to ride Souks a while back. Tubulars. I only use them on our bigger rides. I don't train on the tubulars. So the light changes and we just start going really fast. I think that's Abby at the front there. Yeah, he was in front with me. So he takes off and we start putting the line together here. That's Jennifer on the left there. That's Laura on the right. This guy named Roy. He's a Spaniard. I think he does not speak English very well. This is the first time I've seen him on the ride. So we're getting a lot of new faces. I suspect we have come with Alejandro. That's Doug, shot right there in the orange. In a little bit, I'm going to come around Paul. I really like this kit. Souke has taken this thing to the next level. The quality is up there while keeping the price out of the higher stratospheres, if you know what I mean. So very, very good value. I love the fit. I took it out on, I believe, Wednesday, and it just felt so good. So I told Paul, let's wear it up, because Paul has the chartreuse styling, and I've got the orange and blue. They call it their high visibility kit. And this is where I realized, I was like, man, we're going fast. I think I looked down to see what gear I was in right there. I don't know if you'll get an appreciation for this light. The camera really can't keep up. You have to have a camera that can keep up with the speed. But the light has so many modes. I love the form factor. Look at that. What I noticed this week, once I put this light on my bike, that was a good representation there. I put the light on my back. I noticed that a lot of drivers were giving me a lot of room from behind. They were backing off early. It's like they would see me, you know, not that they didn't see me with the other light. There's something about this light. I toned it. It's in group mode, so it's not as bright, but it has 300 lumens, which is a lot more than the other one that I put on, the other brands I have, and I could tell a difference. It's almost a little embarrassing when you put it on the highest setting. It's almost like you're paranoid. And it's the same thing for the RN 1500 that they sent me to test for the front. I didn't bring it on this ride. It's just too bright. It's so bright I couldn't even put it on the flashing mode. It's one of those lights where when you put it on the highest setting, all people see is a ball of light. They don't even see you. That's just a big bunch. But it's great when you leave early and you need to light up the road. I do like they have like a Garmin type connector, and the one on the rear actually it has a connector that just sits on the saddle rails. So it's a clean connection. It comes with a strap, but I chose to just put it on the saddle rails because I don't have a bag there. It's hard for you to see, but when I do the review, you will get the details. I will put the links in the description, the discount link, so you can check out their products. I got it to send me to set up a discount link for you guys. That's what I require. They want me to test something. You got to provide discount for my audience if I'm going to introduce it to them. So he was willing to give 15% off the top, and the pricing is very reasonable for the quality they have. So I've requested additional lights from them, and I will be rolling out different videos over time. I had a good training week this week, so I was excited about the Saturday ride. So the fit and function of my kit was A+, and I communicated that to the lady, the Souke marketing rep, and told her, keep doing what you're doing because I like the fit. I don't really care that they call it an XL, but why call it an XL when it fits like a large? You might as well just call it a large. So I don't know why they mess around. All these manufacturers do that. So you can't go by large, medium, and small. That foolishness. You gotta go by the dimensions of the garment and where you fall in their size guides. That's what matters. Because from manufacturer to manufacturer, they may not be consistent. Abby's done pulling, so he drifts off the front. We're doing almost 25 miles an hour. I'm looking around the riders in front of me to keep my eye on what's happening. I stay near the white line or on it. There aren't a whole lot of vehicles using this right lane, but I want to stay on the cleanest piece of pavement. To the right of Doug, where he is, there's a lot of little pebbles and other things that are there. You can't really see anything, but I don't like riding there. I've actually had a puncture riding over there a while ago. So I stay close to the line on this particular road. You have a lot of debris. And they're not heavy debris, they're pieces of flint and other things that get into your tires. Not much you can do about it. So because of the draft, although we're doing almost 23, 24 miles an hour, I am still at the bottom of zone 2 right now. But that's not the only reason, you know, your fitness plays a part. The road goes up here a little bit. effort has gone up because there's a slight grade here. It's kind of a false flat. I'm about the top of tempo zone, but we need to sweet spot. You can hear the wind. I'm staying very close to Doug's wheel. I stay a little to the left so I can see around it. Got a tight line here. Ninja grade here. So all I'm doing is dropping the gear one cog down, one cog up as needed to stay in the same rhythm. See the watts going up? Because the road's going up and somebody lifted the pace a little bit. So that slight grade and into the wind. Now we've gone over that little bump. We're coasting. With the mirror on my drop bar, I can monitor the traffic coming from behind without turning my head. That's why you see me on the line or whatever, and if I need to use the lane, because I can tell. You want to be able to do that before you drift on that lane. Otherwise, you need to stay where you see Doug and I are. You stay on that side so you're consistent, so they'll still move over as they come by. But you don't want to be drifting into the lane and there's a vehicle coming. So when you see me on that white line, nothing's coming. Like right now. That right lane is clear. Because I stay exactly where Doug is when I ride solo. But I'm to the left of him because I'm in a pace line I want to see around him. And by staying on his left, I'm still using the cleanest pavements versus being on his right. That's the same reason he's where he is. He can see around John Clement Champoussin Marlborough in front of him. There's a hole coming up that's been on this road for time immemorial from the time that they built it. They need to drop some concrete in there. We're aware of it. And we're going to point it out. And usually I just drift to the right. It's after this intersection here. About probably 50 meters up on the left. It's right on the white line. It's like a chunk of the concrete is missing. Probably wouldn't affect the vehicle too much. That's what I'm pointing out. I just stayed to the right of it. There it is. You could probably roll over it with a vehicle and not be bothered by much, but with our bikes, you don't want to do that. You see the watts going on. Somebody lifted the pace. This is almost a 2% bump, I think. We go even faster when we get to Mount Magnolia coming up in about 2 kilometers. Levels off a little bit here as we approach the intersection up ahead. This area has gotten busier as they put more shopping stores out here. They've got a grocery store on the left across the street. They've got some pharmacies on the right. This all used to be just trees. I just stay in the main lane here until we get through the intersection. Then we can use the turn lane, which used to be the feeder. You will be able to see, besides seeing the watts on the screen, my body language would dictate when I'm starting to put more force into the pedals as we approach Mount Magnolia. And that's the way you need to be set up. You shouldn't have to be scooting around when it's time to go hard. Then you scoot to another position when you're taking it easy. You should already be in position. That all you have to do is pedal. Right here. Look at the watts. Somebody lifted the pace. So I'm accelerating. Nothing changes other than I just pedal harder. Soft pedal a little bit. It kind of breaks up your rhythm, and that's not very efficient. So whatever you're gonna do, hold the pace. If you're gonna, pick a pace and hold it. Instead of all that speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. You drive your car like that, you waste gas. It's inefficient. And now we're going faster again. Just pick a pace and hold it. You're gonna drive it. Drive it harder if you want, but that's the yo-yo nonsense. Just ride. And on the downhill, you want to still keep your legs turning. Resist the urge to coast. Just keep it turning. Because you worked on the hill, going up the hill, you might as well go ahead and enjoy the benefit on the other side. The guy in front is coasting, so we have no choice here. But if I were at the front, I would just be riding. Just find a gear. You go through the gears and just ride and keep your legs turning. The only thing that should stop you from pedaling is if you're going on a steep, a real heavy descent to where you're in your largest ratio and you can't feel it, then yeah. So we're heading towards Highway 149. We're in Magnolia, Texas.
Hey guys. Woo! Look at that. That looks matchy. Oh my god. That's probably giving an extra 3 watts.
I think Abby said something about new shoe day or something. It will give you an extra 2 or 3 watts or something like that. I don't know if he's messing with Laura or somebody else. I don't think Laura's wearing new shoes. You just put together. I've seen that shoe before with a combination that matches a kit, the purple. So he may have been talking about somebody else.
Yeah, that's Central Texas.
Yeah.
Chris, I think we're good.
Hey, Chris, we're turning.
Yeah, Chris went to the right to push the button, and I think it was the wrong pedestrian signal. Instead of letting him know we're going to be turning. I think he knew we're turning. He just wants to make sure this light changes because there's no vehicle behind us. Yeah, we got the green.
We're actually having a spring this year.
Yeah, we've had a beautiful spring this year. Didn't just go from winter to 90-degree temperatures like it does sometimes.
All right, man. Whoa.
So we're on Highway 149. It will take us to Jackson Road. We're gonna stay, when you stay straight, it's probably about 8 kilometers. I say probably about 5 or 6 miles from here to the interchange where you go right and continue on 149, or you go straight and take Jackson Road. We're taking Jackson Road today. This shoulder has a lot of spots where you get little pieces of gravel or whatever, and so we'll get closer to the white line in those spots. It's got some areas where they've chewed up portions of the shoulder, the holes. You know, we point that out. We kind of know where they are, but we still point it out because not everybody may be familiar. Because when you ride in solo, you see everything. You know, when in a group, you're behind people, and sometimes your view is blocked. So I stay a little to the right of the rider in front of me so I can see what's coming. Because they have little spots where they drop little mounds of asphalt and they feel like small speed bumps. I don't like going over those. They're in this section here. We got a few, not many. So it's a cool 23 Celsius. That's almost 74 degrees. Low humidity day. As I speak, this is Monday morning now and Monday afternoon, and the humidity has returned to Southeast Texas. It feels muggy today. We had a lot of rain, so you can see the pavement is damp that we're on. It rained up until 2 a.m. or so. We'll point out little things like pieces of tires that peel off of these trucks. You know, whether they're passenger trucks or semi, doesn't matter, because the radial wires that are in there, you don't want to go over them. They can cause a puncture. So I've placed myself, and this is another view. I mean, I was just talking about it. So if the camera had been stuck to the front, you won't get this view. Or if we see something to the side that's interesting, we can turn the side with. Or when we're chatting with Mo or Jerry or whatever, like Paul did last week when he was talking with Jerry early in the ride, you can turn the camera to the side so people can see who we're talking to. I mean, that's why we love it. So yeah, we work a little harder, but it's worth it. And it's actually easier than people are aware of. If your bike fits you, you shouldn't have any trouble holding something in your hand. That's like holding a bar or a banana. I mean, you should be able to do that. And we rest the camera on the hoods. They just sit there. We're not suspending it the whole time. So you set it and you forget it and you just keep going. It's not as complicated as people think. But if your bike doesn't fit you, yeah, you can't do stuff like that. Because you're constantly pushing. You try to compensate for an uncomfortable area. Your weight is not evenly distributed. I'm coasting. I'm not sure what's going on up there, but when I'm riding and when I'm pulling, I just keep things steady. Just steady is just more efficient. I'm not sure why we're slowing down here. I don't know if there's a vehicle there. Probably not. I think maybe somebody's pulling off. I don't know. It's a little bit of a chopped up pavement at the intersection here, so we always move a little over. I think somebody was pulling off, I guess. There's a hole coming. That's why I'm pointing out. Yeah, the part. Well, it looked like roadkill. You don't want to go over roadkill. Those bones and other stuff might give you a puncture. So when there's a doubt, avoid going over stuff you're not sure of. And if you must, then stand. Take the weight off. I think the road goes up here slightly. That's why the watts are up. We're about an hour into a 5-hour ride, so it's not the time to be a hero. Sit in, get a feel for how you're feeling, and if you go to take a pull, don't do more than is necessary. It's a long day on the bike. I mean, 5 hours is more than a part-time job. For that day anyway. more than half a day. This is the interchange where if you turn right, it continues as 149. We're going to go straight where it becomes Jackson. It's like a 2% right here. Pedal faster. See that? That's what you have to do. 700 and some watts. And I was seated because I was in the proper gears. This is John Z pulling off the front. He was the one pulling back there. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about right here. This is not the time to talk. It's time to ride. Because while they were talking, we were moving. Abby saw that and he was like, I'm not letting that gap grow. Beautiful road. Nice tight line. So this part of the road has very minor grades here, and in about probably 5 kilometers it will kick up as we approach the intersection with 1486, which will take us into Dobbins, Texas. It's a good road to come and work on time trialing or something. You get the whole steady speed for about probably 10 or 12 kilometers. I'm staying low because I'm following Laura and I think she's low. I think she's she, Mo, and who else? John, Shempusan, they get really low. Well, John's small anyway, so whenever I'm following John, I gotta get low. Section A, see how nice and flat it is, so you can just kind of hold a steady rhythm. That's pretty much what I'm doing. Don't really need to shift much. You can see our shadow on the road. It's a tight line. Got a good sized group. It's about 13 or 14 riders. That's a good shot back there. Abby's putting some fuel in the engine. So that's pretty much what you have to do. Keep your eye on the rider in front of you, soft pedal when necessary, coast when you have to, and maintain the distance to that wheel without having to brake. John pulls off the front. I think this is where I don't know who's pulling here. It's Roy. Roy is pulling, and Laura's on Roy's wheel. In a few kilometers, when we hit the hill, John was starting to come off with his usual stuff that he does to come and pass, but you would see it would be like something grabs him and pulls him back. Because we didn't back off on the effort on the hill. So Jennifer took a short pull. I thought it was Roy. So Jennifer took a short pull. She's pulled off the front. She's drifting to the back. Roy takes over here. He's going to pull for the next 5 kilometers, about 3 miles, until we get to 1486. The rains from last night, because this area is full of all these trees. The roots didn't dry off as quickly as the exposed areas. I think this is where it starts going up, and in a little bit Clément Champoussin will come to try to sneak up to the front like he always does. And he would find that it's a little more challenging than he expected. It's a long climb, slight grade, maybe 2.5%, 3%. It gets it and it levels off. It's somewhere around right here. Here we go. Usually he likes to go off the front when the road goes up. And then right about here, he's gonna hit a wall. Right there. He doesn't go any further. Because we're almost at 500 watts. That's what I'm using to get up this thing anyway. There's no way he's going harder than that. And he's gonna go back where he came from. That's why your fit has to be right. My position has not changed. I'm just pushing a larger gear at the same cadence on this climb, or the same gear at my, regular cadence. That's it. It's level off now, and I'm gonna shift up. It's pretty much flat. Let me say 1%. I said 0. It's flat here. It's gonna dip, then it will kick back up after we hit the curve and go downhill. That pace back there was too hard for John to come and show off like he usually does. When you're doing a long ride, this ride was about 82 miles total distance. When you're doing a long ride, you have to ride differently than when it's something shorter. You got to make sure you're not burning all your matches. Check your ego at the door. Because you don't know when your body's going to say, okay, I've had enough. So when riders say, oh, I was in a breakaway, I was taking my cuts and then I blew. That's what it means. Road goes back up here. It's a shorter one. So I just stand. I'm in a larger gear. I just stand. It feels good. I don't lose my spot in line. As a result, Abby is not affected. Even when I sit, my wheel does not back up onto him. You gotta practice that. You must practice that. We're approaching 1486. We're going to be turning right. So on this road, there was some strange exchange. John comes. Now this is Roy on the left in the green jersey that just pulled off. He's pulled about 3 miles. Laura is just starting her pull. We turn, we're going downhill. John's gonna come up there and tell Laura, I asked her later because I didn't hear all of it in the wind, that, oh, she needs to back off because somebody's struggling or whatever. My issue with that was if somebody was struggling, it's not because of Laura's pull. She hasn't even started pulling yet. We're just rolling down this hill. She hadn't even started a rhythm. You can see I'm not even pedaling. And you will see how quickly he comes up to the front to tell her to back off. Well, you should have told the other guy to back off because that's what caused that person who's struggling to struggle. And if you're that worried about it, there he goes. She just started the pull. Then he goes and tell her to back. And this is a thing that guys do, and we need to cut it out. We like to control women for the most part. If that was another guy, he wouldn't say nothing. So we got to cut that out. She's just starting to pull. She didn't cause him to have trouble. If you're having trouble, he'll deal with it. We can regroup like we do all the time. You know, let her take her pull. So I could tell that, you know, Laura is not very confrontational. I could tell that it was like, oh, what's the deal here? So she doesn't stay up there long. She pulls off in a little bit. Like, forget it, you know. But we don't want that. We need to be consistent. If you're gonna do it to her, then if it's more pulling, go up there and tell him. If it's Jerry pulling, if Elder's pulling or Paul's pulling, do the same thing. We're not gonna cotton to that, if you know what I mean. It's foolishness. Because I was a bit confused. So I ended up asking her later in the ride when we're back in town, like, what was that all about? You know, I think she's already pulled off. Laura pulls longer than that. She's like, fine. So I just go ahead and pull through. She hadn't even gotten a chance to get into any kind of rhythm. Talking about somebody struggling. Well, you know, there's a store coming up in about probably 6 miles or so. She's waving Abby up. Go on through. She's going to drift to the back. And I see this gap, so I'm kind of like, you know, I'm not ready to really start riding. And I just put my head down and start riding. But what I'm trying to say is, whether it happens in your group or not, I think it's something that we need to watch. Be consistent. Treat everybody the same. If you're going to govern someone else, then you need to govern everybody. You know, but we don't govern anybody in this group. You know, if somebody goes too hard and the group breaks up, the people who want to go with that person go with them, and the other people stay behind and keep the main group. That's how we always ride. You know, in the past, I've ridden up to riders and asked them, hey, man, you know, back it off a little bit. But in this situation here, it was kind of strange because she hadn't even started pulling. So I don't know what that was about. So I don't know. Maybe my read is off, but everybody needs to have their fun. Even when I'm on the ride and I'm having challenges, I don't slow the group down. I don't say anything to them unless I have a mechanical. I say nothing. If I'm having challenges like a few weeks ago, I let the group go. Let them ride, and I know where they're gonna stop. I just keep riding and I'll meet them there. You guys have seen it on the film. I don't want to be slowing nobody down. People come out to test their fitness or do what they got to do. We don't have any predetermined efforts. The pace is determined by who's here and the time of year it is. That's it. The characters make up the pace. So as a result, she took a few pedal strokes and pulled off. In a little bit, Abby's gonna come say, oh, let me help you, my brother. I'm just keeping it steady. So he comes around, he said, let me help you, my brother. He gets in front of me. I just go ahead and get on his wheel. There's a slight grade here. Our light is a lot more robust than this camera shows. Better representation of the lighting here. But what I was alluding to a little while ago is that we don't want to tell people, oh, you can only do 18 miles an hour. That's boring. When the wind's behind you, then what? You still do 18 miles an hour? Please. We want people to come and ride. Let everybody ride. If you got 13 riders and it breaks up into 3 groups, so be it. You all would meet at the nature breaks or the stores. Let people have their fun. Because I have tried to slow people down in the past and was completely ignored, especially Abby. Abby doesn't pay attention to anything. You tell him to slow down, he keeps riding. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't know what a gander is, but I guess it's a male goose. So Chris lifts the pace here, and so I'll just go ahead and get on Doug's wheel. So we're doing 82 miles, and the whole time, I told Paul about it later, the whole time in my mind I'm thinking, do these guys realize how far we're going? Because right here, he's going a lot faster than I've seen him go. And what ended up happening is hour 3 when we were returning, both he and Pedro had to let the group go when we hit Spring Branch Road. So you have to determine and decide in your mind what your goal is. If your goal is to finish with the group, don't burn your matches in the first or second hour. We're about an hour and a half into the ride from the start at Alden Bridge. For Paul and I, we're over 2 hours because we rode another 45 minutes to get there. And I think Laura probably rode about 30 minutes to get there because she rode to the ride. So you have to look at that and say, okay, if I want to finish with this group, maybe I need to save it for later. Because maybe this was part of the factor when we hit Spring Branch Road on the return, we had about probably 30 miles or so left. He had to let us go. So why do that when you could have not done this and then finish with the group and increase the improvement in your fitness, so to speak? Because while he's doing this, in my mind, I'm thinking, we did not plan to stop at the store. See, there's a store up here, and I think he figured we're going to stop at that store. That was not a guaranteed stop. That was one of the stops on the route. I mark all the stores on the route when I do them now. And I think he assumed we're going to stop. I keep going here. They stop because Abby needed a nature break, so they turn in there. But I think that's what that was about. But even if you're going to stop, there's a bunch of cars coming from the left. But even if you're going to stop and you burn your matches, you will pay the price later if you haven't been training like that. I want to keep going here. So Abby says, you will hear him.
Andrew, can we stop with me?
I give him thumbs up. I tell him, yeah, you can stop. I'm just going to keep spinning. I tell him I'm just going to keep spinning. We spin and wait for them. Just slowly.
Rolling. Yeah.
I told Paul I'm going to keep spinning. And so both of us just...
We're just spinning. Okay. Yeah, just spinning.
Yeah, so they're going to stop over there. Abby needed a health break. Paul does a U-turn here.
We're going to just spin down, okay? We're going to just spin down there. We're going to just spin.
So they'll catch up to us in a little bit. And Paul's going to turn off the camera in a little bit until they catch up. I didn't need to stop, so I'm just going to keep my legs turning. Sometimes when I stop too much, I kind of tighten up. So. I'm right up ahead in the distance. I can't really see. I'm not that far up. Yeah, right here, they've caught back up to us after the stop. We had to lift our pace to get on the back of the group here. We're still on Mount Mariah Road. Because if you don't need to stop, it's good to just kind of put it in a little gear, spin down, eat something, drink whatever. You just kind of, just to stay loose. And sometimes like what Mo will do is he'll ride and then ride back. So you get more kilometers in that way. You know, you don't have to stop if you don't need to.
Car back.
That's what Paul told him, we're just gonna spin down. So they knew we're just up ahead. With the rains from last night. They're waving at animals or something. I don't know. They were waving at, so I don't know who they were waving at. It might be, you know, Mike Barreras usually waves at the cows and stuff, so I don't know. Maybe these guys were, I didn't see anybody outside or something. It's a nice little descent. That's Jerry Lutner on the left there. Jerry will let the group go and then interval up to the group or come and ride past the group. And he said, what are you doing? He said, I'm having fun. And all along here, I'm thinking, these guys are riding like we're doing 50 miles. I'm thinking, man, okay. So for some riders, at the 50-mile mark, when we stopped at Taco Corner, that was all she wrote. When we left Taco Corner, you could see riders struggling. So you have to pace yourself based on your fitness level. You know, because the experienced riders can see when you're struggling. They can see the choppiness in your pedaling and so forth and so on, and the gap opening in front of you when it's hard to get on that wheel because you know you're getting empty. Like what Yusuf saw last week when he started to ask about, is it a no drop ride and blah blah blah. I think Doug is at the front or Abby. No, this is Doug here. Abby's at the front. Both of them are wearing orange today. Doug matching his bike, his frame. There's a dog over here that comes out on the right. So we spread out. And that breaks up the rhythm, so we got to accelerate. See my watts, 600 watts to get back on the train. Because I slowed way down to leave gaps, because these dogs, when I used to compete, one time they jumped in the pack and caused a big crash. They do all kinds of stuff. So you got to spread out to take evasive action. This road, Mount Mariah, is a nice road, up and down. That's another little bump here, 2 to 3%. They kick up repeatedly. There's a lot of debris. The tree fell and shattered. All, you know, the rotten limbs, all the wind. This time of year we get storms when the cold air hits our warm air. So they're pretty violent storms, thunderstorms. Pretty much you'll get some light shows. So at this point in the ride, we're approaching 1486. We're probably about a kilometer or so away from it. I'm sitting in the back there on the left. So Abby's gonna pull for a bit. I think as we approach 1486, he will pull off. As Laura and Jennifer are sitting in the line. Paul is on Jennifer's wheel here. I think he's pulling off. He didn't really motion that I could tell. No, so he's not. Yeah, because Laura's still sitting on his wheel. Looks like some just pieces of debris. The road goes up here as we approach 1486. So now he pulls off. We're going to be turning left. This road is really weird in that when you turn on it, it feels like you're riding in mud because of the chip seal. So it seems flat, but it doesn't feel flat. It's a little below 1%. It may flicker from time to time. Right here, it's like you feel the grade. There's something there. And what I like to do on this road is being one cog slightly higher than normal. It's to stay in the 80s or, you know, barely 90 because the chip seal feels better. When the road is not smooth, I like to use a larger gear to keep my bike stable. Just a slightly larger gear. So whenever we go to Dacus on this road, that's the only thing about it is like the area is nice and everything, but the road, you just feel like you're working for every kilometer you get, every kilometer an hour you get out of it. Yeah, the light looks good here. The camera's doing a good representation. It's one of the lower modes. This is a group mode. So when I've done my exhaustive test, I will do a full review video on the light. I really like the form factor and the functions. The SeeMe 300. It's an unusual name. SeeMe, S-E-E-M-E, SeeMe 300. 300 lumens at the brightest point. Throughout this stretch, I was on the tops, and then I would periodically go to the drops because both riders in front of me are smaller than I am. We're on the open road, headed towards Dacus, Texas. Laura pulled us all the way into Dacus. Nice rhythm. It's hard to maintain a rhythm on this road because the surface gets you. There's no easy speed here. I remember John Nanga told us, he said, I can't stand chip seal. He hates chip seal roads. The road's gonna start going slightly down. You see the dip? It will dip, kick up, then drop us into Dacus, and the speeds will pick up. Using the wind here to slow down instead of being sucked onto Doug's wheel. Then once it slows a little bit, I get back in line. Usually people like to sprint into Dacus. There was no sprint today. We just kind of rode into town. There's a city limit sign that people sprint to. I don't know if we passed it or not. Usually on the right. Yeah, I think we've passed it. We're going to be turning right. There's a store on the corner we're not stopping at. The store is called Jorge's. We're not stopping there today. Laura pulls off, Doug takes over. And he takes over, he lifts the pace. I can feel the pace change. So I just get closer and stay on his wheel. You hear the wind. So Jerry has let us go at this point. He's off the back like he usually does, and then he'll ride back up to the group. He does that out of Strava segments or just interval training, whatever it is that he does. As we approach, once the road starts to go up, I'm going to pull out of the line. I see the rider back there. I say, I'm going to ride with this guy because I needed to back off the pace. And ended up being a big mistake because riding with Jerry is not a lot of fun because he's either going really slow or it's too fast. So we end up getting separated from the group. We regroup with them in the forest. Because Doug waits and comes back. So Doug, Jerry, and I, off camera, after the filming's done, we ride back up into the forest to regroup. On this stretch, I was trying to tell Doug, because I saw him in the mirror, and I myself was like, you know what? I don't need to go this hard. The ride has been very fast, and I'm thinking, well, we're doing another 3 hours at least. And so I was trying to tell him to just back off slightly, but he didn't hear me. You hear the wind. So I'm going to pull off to the right and then wave Paul, well, whoever's behind me, I'm going to wave them up. And he's going to ask, are we going straight? And I say, yeah. I wave Paul up. So he said, we're going straight? Yeah. I said, yeah. So I drift to the back. So at this point, I'm waiting for Jerry back there. I don't know it's Jerry. I just sit up until he gets closer because he's way back. This Johnson Road has a lot of little bumps. So it's a nice place to ride. Slight descent here. At this point, I think I've hooked up with Jerry because you see my watts going up. Once I hooked up with Jerry, we started to ride again. And I realized I should have just stayed with the group instead of drifting back to him.
What's wrong? How come you guys don't match today? Nice surface. Why did you go away? I remember that. Oh, was last week?
So it looks like they've backed off here because they're kind of talking and stuff. So it's like they're taking a break. And that's what I figured. They were going so fast. I'm like, for an 80-mile ride, that was just too much. So I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Remember, get your K's in and keep all the doctors